The interview, the final gauntlet between you and your dream career. It made me, like I'm sure it made many of you, feel awkward, self-conscious, and nervous. So here are 7 tips that helped me ace my interview. Tip number 2 is being read up on and having an opinion on some common issues in healthcare and/or optometry. I thought it was very important for me to show that I had a vested interest in optometry as a field and a profession as a whole, not just on specifically this admission process. This included reading up on patient-centered care, interprofessionalism, government compensation, and scope of practice. I thought it was especially important for me to be sure that I was well versed in the specific issues that were in the geographic area that my school was located in. Tip number 3 was preparing to talk about every single aspect of my application. My interview was done open file, so my interviewers had access to every single activity that I described in my application. And so I prepared 1 or 2 anecdotes for every single activity or event, going through what I had done, what I learned, what I reflected on, and what I would do differently. Tip number 4 was showing instead of telling. I think that anyone can say that they're compassionate, that they're a good leader, but I think it's a lot more impactful to show things that I've already done that illustrate these qualities. For example, let's say I volunteered at a nursing home for 10 hours a week for 3 whole years. This shows that I'm committed to the community, that I'm good at time management, and that I have compassion. This is a lot more impactful than me saying, I can manage my time and I like people. Tip number 5, I found that I interviewed best when I was relaxed. For me, I find it a lot easier to be relaxed when I have an idea of what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. So I practiced all of the classic interview questions, I rehearsed my answers to MMI questions, I practiced with friends, family, and I scoured Reddit for all the optometry related interview questions and I practiced those as well. I found that it was especially critical for me to practice saying these things out loud as opposed to just writing them out or thinking of answers. It became a muscle memory of sorts and it made me a lot more comfortable during the interview. Tip number 1 is the most obvious, but also the most important. And that's having a clear, specific reason for why optometry. In essence, it's what makes me me. It's the story, the narrative, a lot of the significant events in my life that I can weave together that creates a cohesive drive for why I'm interested in this profession. For example, an answer to this question might go something along the lines of, when I was in high school, I engaged in competitive sports and I suffered from a pretty bad traumatic brain injury. I went to my optometrist who recommended that I go through vision therapy. Through this, I was able to make a full recovery. I'd like to become an optometrist because I feel indebted to the field and I'd love the chance to pay it forward. I think it'd be especially valuable because in addition to being a clinician, I also possess the perspectives of being a patient myself. This answer covers very specifically my story for why I'm interested in optometry, why it's specifically optometry as opposed to another healthcare profession, and some of the perspectives and qualities that I can bring to the field. Tip number 7, pause. I found it was really tempting to just go ahead and barrel through answering a question right after the interview was finished asking. But I found that whenever I did, my answers came out rushed, incoherent, and disorganized. I found that by taking a pause, just for 2 or 3 seconds, to collect my thoughts, my answers were much better phrased, well composed, and well timed. Hopefully you find these tips helpful and you crush your interview. Best of luck, and thanks for watching.